What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Hops Geek News, a podcast that discusses comic books, movies, TV shows, and we typically feature a beer of the week. I am Matt. With me is Lauren, and we have a special guest today, Richard from the Direct. You might have seen him run around, a few of his articles, all that good stuff, running the social media accounts. He is joining us because today is our spoiler-filled adventure of Antman and the Wasp, Quantumania. We're going to talk about the film, the things that we loved, maybe the things we didn't like, and we're going to pour one out for a fallen Avenger. So if you've if you have stumbled upon us for the first time, Hops Geek News, any podcasting platform, any social media platform, that's where we reside. And if you want to support the show, patreon.com/hopsgeeknews. All that said, I am drinking this week. I picked Afro Blue from Weathered Souls Brewing Company. If you're on YouTube, they're a brewery out of San Antonio. This is their 11.5 Imperial Stouts. And yeah, I don't know why I chose this one. I did choose it because I tied it with Kang.
I bet it's amazing.
I did. I brought it with Kang. That's why, because Kang's a heavy hitter, man. First of all, that Creed trailer will get. The man's a beefcake. All right. So then the blue. I was thinking Kang blue, and then this is an Imperial Stout with Tanzanian peaberry coffee. That's a new one for me. Maple syrup and vanilla beans. I've been saving this one for about a year now. Honestly,
that sounds phenomenal.
A year ago when I was in San Antonio, and I've been saving it for a special occasion. And I thought, we have a special guest. We got my favorite MCU character has a film out. Let's talk. Lauren, what you got?
So I am drinking from one of my favorite breweries, Calusa. I was having a little bit of a trouble trying to find a beer to pair well with Quantumania. And about a week ago, I drank my broccoli beer from Other Half, and I was like, shit. In the words of Hank Pym, shit. That would have been perfect. But I have Citronius. It's a Citra New England IPA. It's one of my favorite IPAs in Florida. And it kind of looks like the little thing that Bill Murray was eating, and then they made him bigger and he attacked Bill Murray.
That's true.
So, it's an octopus. So that's what I'm going for. And of course, I have it in my Pym Labs glass that Matt so kindly sent me after his Disneyland trip.
That is definitely my favorite thing that I picked up from Disneyland. It wasn't even something that you specifically go out of your way to buy. It was, hey, I ordered alcoholic beverages at Pym's Kitchen, and I'm like, this cup's going home with me right now. And
no, it was a fun surprise in the beer box that it came in.
It was, oh man, I love that. I love Avengers Campus. God, I can gush. But that man in the background, Richard from the Direct, he's a writer and editor for the Direct. He specializes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So, I mean, of course, we're introducing Kang. We had to get somebody, a special guest. So, hey, man, welcome to the show. How are you tonight?
Doing good. Thank you guys so much for having me. And it's really funny because, I'm not much of a drinker myself, but I actually used to own a brewery.
What?
So,
hold on.
What brewery?
Wait a second.
Yeah. I figured I should tell you guys that.
We gotta talk about that real quick. Okay, before we get to Ant-Man, we gotta talk about that. Whoa, give us the details if you feel comfortable, that is.
Yeah. So this was all during COVID and stuff. So it was really, really crazy. But my wife, her parents, and I owned a brewery in South Lake Tahoe, California, called the Brewery at Lake Tahoe. It's it was the oldest place brewery in Tahoe, the third oldest in California. And unfortunately, things didn't work out, COVID and everything, but it was a great experience. And, I had fun doing it. And it's funny, listening to you guys do your thing. And I'm like, holy crap, I owned a brewery. I should say something.
That's awesome. Yeah, not many people can.
It's amazing. You are the perfect guest for this podcast.
Right?
Yeah. Wow. Where have you been hiding? Man, where have you been all my life?
I know, brewery owner and MCU expert.
That's awesome.
I don't have a Pimtech cup yet because I haven't gotten to go to Avengers Campus. Can't wait to. But I do have this fancy popcorn holder.
Dude, I am that I got so jealous. God, I'm so
my
jealous
theater
of
didn't
that
have
popcorn
that
helmet.
It was the one thing I splurged on when I was down there. I did get to go to Disneyland with a bunch of my friends from Agents of Fandom. Shout out those guys. That was so much fun. But I cannot wait to go to Avengers Campus next time I'm down there, hopefully.
Yeah, I'll be down there over there in a few weeks.
I went in August. It's great. It's funny because you're like, oh yeah, that they're not real, right? It's people just dress up. But when you're there, you're so immersed. And right now they have Kang there as well.
Right.
When I was there, like Ant-Man walks around, I was like, oh my God, that's Ant-Man. And then you'd have Doctor Strange walking around. I was like, oh, Spider-Man does his thing. And I was like, this is crazy. And we're like, my wife said,
That's awesome.
Is this for you or the kids? And I'm like,
But
yes.
it's for both. That's why Disney's special. But see, for me, living in Florida and like having Disney World and then having Islands of Adventure, which is Islands of Adventure is only comic books. They can't touch the MCU. And then at Magic Kingdom or, Disney World in general, they can't touch anything except Guardians of the Galaxy. So it's like ridiculous. Wow. Yeah. And we have Cosmic Rewind, but there's no meet and greets or anything. They had a Star-Lord and Baby Groot meet and greet years ago before COVID at Hollywood Studios for like 5 minutes. And apparently there was a secret Doctor Strange magic show that they wouldn't even like advertise. When I asked a cast member about it, they're like, well, it's only at this time. It's in the back. We're not really marketing it. It's like, what?
Like a need to know
so
basis.
Worried about violating those contracts. So I'm so fortunate that we have 4 amazing Disney theme parks and 2 water parks and this huge property, but then we have none of this stuff that they have at Avengers Campus. So every time I see a meet and greet, I'm just like, it angers me in a way that it shouldn't.
Right.
You'll be living the dream soon enough. So
I know, but it'll only be temporary. Then I have to come back home.
That's true. That is true. But you live next to, I don't want to hear it. She lives next to Disney. We're not gonna feel bad for her too, folks. She has an annual pass. She gets to go all the time. I don't.
Well, and so here you can order a beer in the cantina and then walk around Galaxy's Edge. You can't walk around Galaxy's Edge with a beer, I read.
I think that's right. I think so.
Because it's in Disneyland.
Right.
So you can order a beer in the cantina, but whenever I go to the cantina, I get a beer to go too. And you can't do that there.
That's right. That is.
So at least I have that going for me.
Yeah, for sure.
That's true. So Richard, you do a little work writing. You do a little writing work. How did you come upon that?
It's so funny. Whenever I tell people this story, I always start laughing to myself because literally this came out. I started in like summer of 2019. Literally, my wife found an advertisement for a site that was looking for writers. It was called MCU Exchange. They used to do a bunch of great work, and I'm still friends with a couple people from there. So I applied. I got on the team, and I started writing from there. Just a few articles a week, whatever. I was doing that along with my day job, and then January 2020 comes around and the Direct reaches out to me and asks me if I want to write for them and get paid for it. And, after thinking about it for about 5 seconds, I said yes.
It's one of those like play it cool. You're like, I'll get back to you. Sitting there screaming like, absolutely. And then, yes, I would love to.
Exactly. So that happened. I started up with them in March of 2020, which was funny enough, perfect timing because I was, of course, when the world shut down. Mm-hmm. I built up my resume from there. I also worked with the Illuminati for a little bit, but now I
love that name.
Yeah, they're pretty great. But now I'm full-time with the Direct. I'm the senior writer there, and this is my life. I write articles. I'm writing a good 3 to 6 articles every day, editing stuff, posting social media, and I just absolutely love it. I mean, I didn't expect to be doing this, but it's kind of turned out to be my dream job. I get to write about comic book movies for a living, and it's pretty great.
You can't beat it at all.
No.
It's literally the best. It is.
I got to travel to LA for a business trip, and the business was seeing Antman and the Wasp.
Oh, I'm God,
that is amazing.
Right?
That is amazing. Truly. And it's, man, you're at the premiere, you're like all of that good stuff. It's exciting. And that's what we're here to talk about today is Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. Mm-hmm. So you get to go to the premiere, you're there, you're in the thick of it. What was your reaction to the movie?
It's really funny. This one, more than any movie in the MCU in a while, you guys know it's had such mixed reactions. Some people love it. Some people absolutely despises it. I'll say this really quickly. Rotten Tomatoes, this is the movie that's like made me completely off of Rotten Tomatoes.
I saw you say that and I was like, welcome. Have a seat because I've been as a DC fan.
Yeah, right.
He liked Batman versus Superman though. So
look
sorry.
Come on, chill.
Sorry, I haven't mentioned that in a long time.
But no, I mean, I liked it. I would say it didn't meet my expectations, but I still enjoyed it. I think I said on Twitter that this was the best of the 3 by a hair. Just by a little bit. I mean, there were some things I was definitely disappointed by, as I think most people were. But I will say this: Jonathan Majors as Kang I think saved the movie.
Amazing.
Because he had
man.
one of the best villain performances in the MCU,
Mm-hmm.
maybe ever. And he has the advantage of being like the big bad of the multiverse saga and actually having a movie and a TV show to develop that character, unlike what Josh Brolin had as Thanos. So
yeah.
I'm so looking forward to seeing what he does in the future. But I really enjoyed it. I mean, all the performances were really good. Paul Rudd, Evangeline Lilly did a pretty good job. They didn't really give Michael Douglas a lot to do. I was kind of bummed about
the kooky
that.
grandpa.
Yeah, holy shit. Is that broccoli?
I loved it. He kept saying shit too.
Her
And
name was
when he
Linda.
said the first one, I thought
He
it was
did.
great.
He
But
did.
I think he understood like it's not his movie anymore. He's not Antman and he hasn't been for years. And I feel like the first one was passing of the torch.
Yeah.
And now, and he was being called grandpa, which I thought was adorable.
That was pretty cute.
but yeah, he's sitting back and he's doing what a good father should do.
Yeah. And I will say this, I've said this is the first Ant-Man. I wish they could have made a good Ant-Man movie like 30, 40 years ago so we could have actually seen Michael Douglas play a young Hank Pym. I think that would have been awesome. But
yeah,
I'd also be really scared because, they didn't make superhero movies like that in the 1980s. So it would have been a disservice.
We would have gotten like the Captain Americas that we've seen and,
Yeah.
Lou Hulk and thing. Yeah.
They would have used like the same stuff from Honey, I Shrunk the Kid. And it would just been
exactly.
Ant-Man running by Auntie.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I enjoyed the movie. There was stuff I was disappointed by, but I don't think I hated it as much as a lot of people did. And I understand that it's really, really divisive. But no, I enjoyed it.
I agree with you. So this movie, right? And I don't know when, I guess, along the way that we stopped almost just seeing movie. I don't know how to explain it necessarily, but somewhere along the way, we put a lot of stock into things like Rotten Tomatoes. And,
Yes.
sometimes it can be great. Me personally, I'm all about, hey, go watch a movie. If you watch a trailer or you see a movie and it interests you, watch that movie. Mm-hmm. Don't rely on, it's currently, let me check on the internet real quick. What's it at? 47%. 46%. Because that's not a great way to live. I feel like it's not a great way to consume the mass amounts of things that we are lucky enough as comic book fans to consume. And it's just, I see it out there like, it's at 46%, but the audience is at 84%. And it's just like, who cares? Did you enjoy it? That's what matters.
I don't care at all.
I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yeah. For me, I look at it and it's like Nightmare Before Christmas and Hocus Pocus both bombed.
Yeah.
And those are two amazing classics that I absolutely love. And it's like when the Heat are down by 20 at the half, they have a better chance of winning. So that doesn't deter me from rooting for them. So it's like the same thing. I don't care that there's a low percentage on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't care at all. The thing I will say that
the Lakers. Thank God this is not a sports podcast because I would be fuming right now as a Lakers fan.
Yeah, God, I'm lucky that the only Boston sports team I don't root for is the Packers, and I'll leave it there because I'm from Massachusetts, so I'm like I'm in a lucky time right now. But however, if my parents love me, the Patriots. Anyways, you're right. This isn't a sports podcast.
Thank God.
That's gonna get me on a whole other.
Well, and the Lakers and the Heat. Yeah, we could. Okay, so fucking LeBron. So the main issue with not the issue. I feel like the thing that because when I saw those scores coming in. I don't get it at all. I loved Moon Knight. I liked For Dark World. This stuff doesn't bother me. So when I went into it, I came out being like, I get why there were people who didn't like it because it was, I personally think, the most comic book MCU thing we've seen ever, if not the most comic book movie we've honestly ever seen on the big screen. Maybe
there's an argument for it.
Pilgrim versus the World could be argued as more comic booky. I don't know.
No, it's definitely comic book, and that movie was ahead of its time in its own right. Like I remember,
at least in terms of live action. Yeah, I mean, you could go Into the Spider-Verse, but that's animated.
But that's animated, right?
Sure,
so I feel like everything from you start with X-Men. I feel like X-Men is and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man is really when the comic book movies and Christian Bale's Batman really started to take off. The DC movies in the 90s, the Batmans and whatnot, those were a little bit more comic booky for sure.
Even Wesley Snipes' Blade, I'd say.
Oh yeah, I mean, he saved Marvel for all intents and purposes. Without Blade, there is no Marvel for sure.
Yeah,
I don't care if he pays his taxes. He saved Marvel.
He doesn't need to, as far as I'm concerned.
But it's I feel like everything that they've done through the MCU has been catering to a wider audience and bringing in different people. And so like we saw Zola with the giant face in Winter Soldier, and that was like a nod to MODOK. And then they come with this giant, scary looking, and then cartoony thing. And I feel like I didn't love that. I will say I didn't love it. I get it because I've read comic books and because I understand what they're going for and because I understand like some of the origin. But the average person going into these theaters doesn't. And I think that's what film critics are definitely not reading these comic books that are fucking
we live in a nerd bubble. That's we live in a bubble. So
absolutely
for the fans in the bubble, you can see why the audience rating is what it is, because for us in this bubble, we're sitting there like, oh, there's this, there's that. Like we'll get
there's
to
Ramatut.
Like,
right.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. We're gonna get to those important points. Whereas if you're a critic, you're looking for things that are more detailed, right? You're looking for, is the script deep? Is X, Y, and Z deep? Whereas other people necessarily,
the effects.
How are the visual effects? Oh, we spend this movie, literally the entire film, save the first 5 minutes, is in the quantum realm, and they're playing with size. There's a lot of CGI involved.
Major Star Wars vibes, I will say. I
Major
honestly
Star
like
Wars vibes.
Certain points felt like they must have had so much fun. And again, because I referenced it when we were talking about the movie Strange World. Like, if you've read the Oblivion Song comic, it was all these amazing, like, just different versions of different things, and it was giving me those vibes too. That's a Robert Kirkman comic, and I loved seeing all that and them getting to be like super creative with it. But if you were going into it expecting Ant-Man 3, you didn't get that.
Right.
And
go ahead.
No, and like I think this one took just such a different path than the first two Ant-Man movies, and mostly because of the Kang stuff and because of the quantum realm stuff, it didn't necessarily feel like an Ant-Man movie. And then another thing, just on top of that, I think it was kind of unavoidable, but Marvel, I think, did dig itself a little bit into a hole, kind of setting this up as the next like Avengers level movie. Because it was in a way, but it also wasn't. Mostly just because it did have, the next Thanos level villain. And he was awesome. I mean, Kang, for all intents and purposes, I loved in this movie. Like I said before, he's one of my favorite villain performances that I've seen in the MCU.
And he's playing so many different characters great too.
Jonathan Majors has range and he shows it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a tall order for any actor to play this role because of all the variants that we're going to see. But I think Jonathan Majors is up to it. And like I think this movie just had so much on its plate. And I've been a proponent of this for the last few movies. I think they need to start making the movies longer again, because this movie was only 2 hours and 5 minutes. I think
2 hours and 5 minutes.
I think that includes the credits and everything too.
Yeah, it does. And outside of Black Panther 2 and Spider-Man 3, all of these movies recently have been fairly short, like right around the 2 hour mark. I think this one could have benefited a little more from maybe 10, 15 minutes more of runtime. Explaining the quantum realm more, diving into more of the backstory, maybe even like extending on the opening stuff a little bit, like where we are in the real world and stuff like that. I've been a proponent of that forever.
Yeah. They've been vague on that all of Phase 4.
Yeah, for sure.
I definitely agree. And so this movie was, I don't want to say doomed from the start, but when Kang, he's the villain of the multiverse saga. You're setting him up in Ant-Man, where Ant-Man is a thief. The first film is a very low profile thief. He's stealing the suit. That's where we meet Hank. The second film, we're again very low profile. We're only in San Francisco with Ghost. So now we're going here. We're in the quantum realm. Sure. Okay. Not the first time we've been there with Ant-Man, but you have Kang, who is supposed to be this Thanos level threat. So people, again, they're automatically going to compare it to Endgame, Infinity War, the Infinity Saga, which I kind of hope we start getting past that mindset of comparing, this to that, because we're setting up something different now. We finished.
They're comparing apples and oranges.
Seriously.
Exactly. And now Kang again is, people expected him, anything short of Kang killing Scott Lang.
Oh yeah,
was doomed to fail in a sense, because that's just Kang. Who can beat Kang? Ant-Man's not beating Kang. He kind of didn't. He got his ass.
He
Ant-Man got his
beat
ass kicked.
a Kang, and that's the thing. Like, this wasn't a low level threat. He beat one. Like,
Yeah.
there's so many others, and like he even said it in Loki. Like, I'm not the worst one. Well, I'm going to put money on the fact that Scott Lang did not beat the worst one. I'm going to guess that the worst one is still out there.
And I highly doubt he's
yeah.
even actually defeated, but we'll save that.
Yeah.
That's true too. And I like that he did stop and be like, did I defeat him? Did I kill him? Oh, well.
I still wish they would have gone further with that, but
yes. Yeah. So we'll get there. So starting kind of from the beginning, the plot obviously is, Janet Van Dyne encounters Kang in the quantum realm during her days of exile,
with a perfect face of makeup, even though she's been in the quantum realm for who knows how long.
Look. She looks. Michelle Pfeiffer still looks great. If she wants to come back to play Catwoman in movies, I am for it. We got Michael Keaton back. Michelle Pfeiffer.
I thought about that too when I was watching it. I was still on that high from that Flash trailer.
Right.
Yes. And so this movie kind of kicks off with Scott doing his book tour, which I love. I can't wait to buy that book. I already have it pre-ordered on Amazon, so it's ready to come. And Cassie gets arrested and kind of following the family thing. And she's like, Dad, what are you even doing with your life? Which, first and foremost, Cassie.
I loved her.
Scott is the hero of the Infinity Saga. That man, without Ant-Man, Thanos probably isn't getting beaten. But that's just me speaking. I wrote an article on this whole thing for Bam Smack Pow. Is like Ant-Man is the reason why this happens, because it comes out of the quantum realm, all that kind of. They time travel without quantum and pin particles. Man, come on.
Mm-hmm.
It's been 4 years, and I still can't believe that Scott Lang is the reason that Endgame worked.
Exactly. Like Cassie.
It's because Paul Rudd is timeless.
Yes, he is.
She's like, Dad, you're not doing anything. What are you doing? You're talking about your book. Like, hold on. This man brought half the universe back to life. Like, he didn't snap his fingers, but
they were making fun of him for that for a reason, because he hasn't done anything since. So they were calling him out properly, and he did
need to.
But he was an Avenger. No, but she did. And I actually very much so enjoyed that storyline, because to her dad will do anything for her. Her dad will do anything, for his family. And I get that. But what Cassie noticed was that once he saved the world, because he saved the world for her, and he saved the world for Hope and for Janet and for Hank, because obviously Cassie was still there, but he did that for his family. And so once he saved them, like, that's still what he was focused on. Right. And what Cassie was saying was like, hey, Dad, you're an Avenger. You can't just save us. Get out there and do good, because he was still in the trenches, just making sure his kids were safe, which I get as a parent. 100% I get that. Mm-hmm. But, he is also an Avenger. And so his daughter was like, come on, Dad, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so funny too, because like I get every side of that. Like, it was so funny to me how they did the whole Scott Lang book tour thing. Like, especially when he's listening to it in the car.
I would too. Look, man, sometimes I listen back to our podcast to make sure we didn't mess anything up.
I've done the same thing.
Look,
I thought about that too. I'm like, I do listen to our podcast for fuck ups, because I don't edit it. And if I'll go back and listen to it, we have a whole section when we start what we fucked up on or wanted to clarify on.
If I save the universe, I'd be like riding that high too. I don't need to work again. What do I need
to
right. Like, come on, man.
Yeah,
but it's him voicing his book too, makes it even better.
Yeah, he's doing the audio recording, and that's just hilarious. And then like the whole egg stuff when they get to his house, and also I wish that pin particle technology for food was real, because that would be amazing.
Yes,
it's like Back to the Future too.
Seriously,
he makes the pizza bigger, and he's like, "What? I just saved us like $8." And like, just my kind of man right there. That's what
cure world hunger.
Yeah, no, Hank Pym is the right kind of man for this world.
Without a doubt. And I just want to say real quick, while Lauren was talking, we appreciate that Ant-Man and Fast and Furious kind of follow the same bear with me. The first movie's a low stakes heist film. They're boosting DVDs. Scott's boosting the Ant-Man suit. And now look at where they are, right? The latest Fast and Furious, they went to space. They're doing all sorts of superhero stuff. Scott goes to the quantum realm. He fights Kang. Look, I'm just saying, Scott's all about family. Vin's all about family. They follow the same paths. I'll leave that there.
I saw a meme that said the Toy Story franchise is just the animated Fast and the Furious franchise. That I buy. I'm not buying this Ant-Man stuff.
Come on.
I saw one. We haven't gotten into MODOK yet, but I saw one where it's MODOF, mechanized organism only designed only for family. And I think it was Vin Diesel's face.
Damn, that's
Oh
amazing.
gosh.
If anybody's tuning in for the first time, I love the Fast and Furious movies till I die. I'm a simple man, but all right. They get home, basically, they're having a family dinner, and that's when Cassie kind of reveals that, hey, we've been working on talking to the quantum realm, sending satellite signals down, how to study it. They get brought into the quantum realm, split up, and that's kind of where our movie begins. And I'm with you in that this movie could have benefited from 10 to 15 minutes more because it really feels very fast paced. You don't get a lot of time with Scott, with Cassie. It's very, hey, I'm here, you're in jail. We're now in the quantum realm. It doesn't really breathe.
Within like 10 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. All within the first 10 minutes, you're in the quantum realm and the movie's taking place that fast. And it's very much a fast paced movie. At no point, there's minor key points where we sit down and kind of have some exposition, but nowhere do we really. And I get the argument of the lack of character development from that, because sure, what really has changed? My argument there is Scott is who we have always known Scott to be. He's always been about family. He's always been about Cassie. And he was willing to even sacrifice himself at the end to lose to save Cassie and Hope and Janet and Hank. And we know who he is. And to stay.
He just needed to remember who he is.
Well, throughout everything he has been, from Thanos to the very beginning of him getting out of jail and becoming this superhero, it's never wavered despite everything he's been through. And with superhero stories, you never really see that. And so it was kind of nice for me.
I think also he doesn't consider himself a superhero necessarily. I feel like he is unique. I mean, maybe it's because it's played by Paul Rudd, but I feel like for him, he's just happy to be considered an Avenger.
Yeah, exactly. Because he's arguably one of the most normal people that's been an Avenger. I mean, he's a smart guy. He's obviously an electrical engineer and everything. So he's really, really smart, regardless of how he acts. But he really is the most normal of the group. He's just, some 40, 50 something average white guy, who has a daughter and, just happened to come across a super suit and become a superhero.
Right.
Yeah. And that's really what it is. He is, and he even fanboys over the likes of Captain America. He's like, I went to fight with Captain America. I didn't fight Captain America. Who would be that stupid?
I'm not an idiot.
Yeah, that was great. And
that was amazing.
This movie has a lot of heart. It really does. At the core of it, there's a lot of heart, and you see that family aspect. And that's another reason why I just had a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I think people forget that these movies are supposed to be fun.
Exactly.
Like The Last of Us has been absolutely phenomenal, but it's not fun, but it's phenomenal. And I think that's what a lot of people are expecting still out of Marvel. And it's like, you can have all of it. There's so many different things. You can have whatever. Just don't watch the fun stuff if you don't want fun, I guess. Go watch Winter Soldier on repeat. I mean, I love that movie. But like, if you really just don't want to have fun, just stick to the serious ones, I guess.
I was to say, Marvel isn't The Boys. Like, I caught up on The Boys this summer. If you want that is its own thing. I respect that for what it is. But Marvel movies, you have some fun. And even in Captain America, the Winter Soldier, there is some funny shit in there. Like people forget that that's actually a pretty funny movie at times.
And
then also, like, to me, I think you have to realize, even though, like I said, this movie didn't do itself any favors by setting it up as the next Avengers level movie. Not every movie is going to be, Avengers Infinity War or Avengers Endgame, especially this is the first movie of Phase 5. And I know people are expecting a lot out of the start of Phase 5, but Phase 4 was really very much like a wind down phase, like to kind of come down from the high of Endgame. And especially like, you had to end it with Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which was mourning Chadwick Boseman. And that was heavy. So yeah, I mean, I think this movie kind of had to have a little bit of fun in it at times, and especially because it is such a wild concept. I mean, Scott Lang going down to the quantum realm for an entire movie. It's a kind of crazy theory.
Antman has gone cosmic. All of the heroes that we could have gotten, we now have Antman on a cosmic level. It's like,
yep.
And I think we often forget that Marvel is based on comic books. If you ever picked up a comic book for 5 minutes,
they're out there.
Most
they are.
the most insane storylines. You have just the wildest things happening in comic books. And that's what this movie felt like to me. It's like, hey, we had phase 4, which is all about grieving. We needed a period of grief. This traumatic experience. Yes. This traumatic experience happened. People died. We lost Tony Stark. We lost Captain America. I mean, he's not dead, but he's
Black
old
Widow.
man now. We lost Black Widow. And we
Our
also went through
Gamora.
the fact that half the universe was snapped away and they brought back, and all the things that we got to deal with that with, like Hawkeye showed that. And so we have this period of, hey, we're taking a breath. We're looking at like the traumatic experience we went through. And now it's like, hey, these are comic book movies. We are allowed to have fun, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And that's what we did in this movie. It was fun.
I feel like Spider-Man No Way Home ruined a lot of things too, because it was just so perfect in every way, shape, or form, and met all of our expectations and exceeded them. And so like I don't think any of us have recovered from coming off that high, because we all went home and then watched it again a few months later and it was still just as good.
I still tear up whenever, he's got to go through this at the end when, Mary Jane and them are, MJ, hey, I love you, and they split their ways. I still get all teary.
I lose my mind every time Andrew Garfield saves MJ still. I can't.
Yeah, Spider-Man No Way Home. I will unashamedly say Spider-Man No Way Home is my top MCU movie, and I don't think it's going out of that spot for a long time, honestly.
Yeah, it's up there with Endgame 100% for me personally.
Endgame, Infinity War, Winter Soldier, all of it. Yeah.
You just named like my top 4 or 5.
Yeah, that's mine along with Civil War.
I feel like Civil War is underrated. We're gonna go down a rabbit hole.
Civil War really is.
Yes.
But even Civil War though, we forget about how funny that movie was. We have the scene where,
Underoos.
Well, that, and then Steve and Sharon, and the whole car scene with Sam and Bucky.
Sneeze.
Yeah, that was weird. But the whole can you move your seat up? No, that for a very the Avengers.
I love them.
You couldn't have done that earlier.
Yeah,
I hate you.
It's a movie about the Avengers breaking up, and we still get comedy in it. So people kind of forget.
But it was heartbreaking too.
It was.
But when I said phase 4 that was about redemption, I feel like there were so many things that so many people were upset about, and they went and fixed it. And I feel like things that people are upset about, it's like you can't go into an MC movie and expect everything from start to finish and then walk out being okay with it, because it wasn't the beginning, the middle, and the end of the story. It was part of a huge story. And I think that 53% on
really well.
Rotten Tomatoes, I feel like they're not going into it thinking that. Like I'm always just as excited at the beginning of the movie as I am at the end of the movie for the end credit scene to see what's next.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I gotta credit the MCU. Like, even though this wasn't a hit amongst everybody, the fact that they have been doing this for 15 years and people are still going out to see these movies. I mean, this was the highest grossing opening weekend for any Ant-Man movie ever.
I was going to say Ant-Man, like domestically, it made 105 million. Do you know how much the first Ant-Man movie made?
I think like
it was 50 million. It was 50 million.
Yeah, we should Iron Man make. We should. That would be a fun episode. Like to go through all that.
I have to look.
I'd be so down to do that episode with you.
Oh, dude, absolutely.
Yeah, but like Black Panther was such a huge hit, and like Spider-Man before that people are expecting that out of Marvel every time. They're not going to have they're not going to be just churning out billion-dollar hits, especially in this era. I mean, I think things are finally kind of getting back to normal in terms of like box office and numbers and stuff and reviews and everything. And I think another movie that ruined movie going for people along with No Way Home, Top Gun Maverick.
I was going to say it's Top Gun, isn't it? That movie had some legs.
I saw that on my couch.
Incredible legs.
Yeah, Top Gun is legit one of my top 10 probably favorite movies ever.
That was my favorite movie of 2022.
Yeah, mine too.
It was just without a doubt.
But yeah, and I think people are just expecting that Marvel is just going to be, like I said, churning out these billion-dollar hits. And the Ant-Man franchise, for this movie to do so well for the Ant-Man franchise, is a really big success. Maybe it didn't do so well compared to the higher ups of the MCU, but I don't think it necessarily has to.
No, you've made us care about Ant-Man.
Exactly.
Ant-Man. And one of the things
people
really
forget he was one of the original Avengers.
Well, that's what I'm saying
he's almost like Aquaman. Like, give him some respect, people.
He plays a pivotal role in the comics. Like, he creates Hank Pym is the creator of Ultron, for example. And so he plays a very pivotal role. And one of the things I enjoyed is they still pay homage to Hank and Janet. Like we got to see Janet briefly, but Janet was in an Antman costume and did some, that was awesome. I geeked out over that.
Yeah.
And it was great. And so then we enter MODOK. Speaking of expectations, we bring in MODOK.
You see the SNL skit, lowered expectations.
Well, I don't know what people were expecting out of a character.
That's fair.
With a giant floating head with baby
we weren't
arms
expecting
and legs.
a Humpty Dumpty ass.
Okay.
Nobody was expecting that.
We got MODOK cheeked up. We did.
Yeah.
But
I didn't mind it. I was kind of there for it, honestly.
I mean, to each their own.
This is who MODOK is. Like in the comic books, he's this goofy floating head with tiny arms and legs with this stupid bowl cut. Like his mom gave him like a cut in the dark with a bowl from the 90s. Oof. And even like Corey Stoll played it perfectly because MODOK is inherently like, I'm this death machine, but he's also just, you can't take him seriously. You can't. Everybody who sees him like, wait, you're a floating head. And so he played it perfectly. And these people are like, oh, this is what people are defending. It's like, come on, man. I have been saying this for weeks. There is no way that you can do a live action MODOK and not have it be ridiculous.
It was hard to look at.
I mean, he was hard to look at, and I think that's probably what Marvel was going for, and that's what they needed to go for, and it worked. I think. I mean, maybe.
Right.
I mean, I know some comic purists are mad that it's not, George Tarleton or whatever.
Oh,
but
right.
The way the MCU did it, I love the way they brought Corey Stoll back for the role. I thought that was really interesting, that he didn't die at the end of the first Ant-Man, that he was just shrunk down, and it worked perfectly considering the visuals that they did. I don't know if they had planned it the entire time like that, but they made
wonder, yeah.
Yeah, but they made it work well. And no, and like, I mean, a couple of the visuals didn't work out perfectly. I'll admit that. But I will say when he had the mask on, when he had the giant shield over his face.
He was straight out of the comic. That looked awesome.
That was straight up terrifying.
It did look cool. And then he had like the buzz saws going. And it's another thing is like, okay, I think this was the perfect and probably one of the only ways you could have actually successfully brought a live action MODOK in, because where else are you going to do it? Because if you bring him into the real world, so to speak, out of the quantum realm, okay, these heroes, Thor can smash him pretty easily, blah, blah, you'd have complaints. But if you bring him in the quantum realm where things are wonky and nothing makes sense, it makes perfect sense that he got shrunken down to this version of what he is now. And that's MODOK, and he's working for Kang. I think it made perfect sense in the realm of the MCU.
Yeah.
Like
I really didn't think they were ever going to fully touch it again until we saw, because he was in the trailer, wasn't he? Because I feel like we knew he was going to be
saw him in the trailer.
Yeah, he saw him in the trailer.
I didn't know he was going to be Darren Cross. But we knew he was going to be in this. But like, I really thought that they were just going to leave it alone, and after what they did in Winter Soldier, and just leave it at that. So I was kind of surprised at that.
See, my wife was also surprised. I was like, where have you been? You haven't seen the trailer or the pops? Or I guess I
wasn't surprised in the movie theater.
Too, but
I was surprised
when
we saw the trailer, or when I don't even remember when I heard he was going to be in there, but I knew he was going to be in there.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I didn't mind it. I don't hate it nearly as much as everybody else did. And like, of all the things that I could complain about with this movie, I don't think MODOK was one of them.
No, and he was great. He did a perfect job of being menacing, and then you see Kang just shut him down immediately, and you're like, oh, that kind of, because somebody was like, MODOK does, he's a killing machine, but he doesn't kill anybody. I was like, my brother in Christ, did you not watch MODOK come through and mow down like a lot of the Resistance members before he got to Cassie and Scott? And
that was in the first minute he was on screen.
Exactly. He came in hot. He killed people. Yeah.
But he was still Kang's bitch.
But then that just shows that how strong Kang was, because Kang was like, shut up, don't talk to me when I'm in the room. And he was just scared. And you're like, oh, okay. Now we're talking business here. But yeah. I will say one thing I don't like was that Janet like refused to answer questions about who they were facing down there. That kind of bothered me. That
was purely for plot. I don't disagree.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. I feel like some of it was a bit traumatic, but some of it, like, she needed to let people know before. But I did like when she was like, they had been separated for 30 years. She didn't want to tell him she slept with Bill Murray. And she's like, I had needs. And he's like, I did too. And I love that like Hope is still like a 40-year-old woman and she's still very uncomfortable with this conversation. I thought that was, I thought there was a bit of ironically, an innocence to that whole conversation.
Agreed.
Yeah, I didn't mind that.
So I feel like it was part of that. And I think it was part of like she did some terrible shit that she just I do think it was like plot armor kind of thing, because again it's like you're just doing this to further along the plot where full well at the end of the day you gave up seeing your daughter to save billions of people. Like of course they're not going to look down on you for that. That's
okay. I got a question. Would you have done what Janet did? Because he said she
saw
what happened,
Bill Murray,
right?
Probably not.
First of all, no. She definitely did with
not
Kang.
Even in his Ghostbuster days.
I'm convinced her and Kang.
I'd sleep with her, not him.
Yeah. What about his Caddyshack days?
Yeah.
We were
not into gophers.
I can't believe we were supposed to believe that Bill Murray was the stud in all those movies, like Ghostbusters, getting Sigourney Weaver in her prime.
That's still weird to me. Yeah,
it's still.
I get. Was it? I get. Yeah.
Weird.
Never done anything for anybody that I know.
Yeah. But I've never heard somebody be like, yeah, Bill Murray does it for me. Like, if you're out there, like, please introduce yourself. I got questions.
I got to meet you. Yeah. I got to hear
I have
from
a
you.
lot of questions, but would you guys have done what Janet did, which is you could go home, see your daughter. It's like you never left. And he even said that I'm not going to touch your universe. Would that be something that you guys would do?
To live with that on your conscience forever.
Yeah. I mean, that's, even though it's not your universe, the fact that you now know that there's countless other universes out there that
billions of people,
and you've seen what happens to them, that's a lot to live with.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a hard, especially as a mother, like, my first primal instinct obviously is to protect my own, but that's a hard pill to swallow. And she knows that Hope has a father. She's not an orphan.
That's also true. That plays into it perfectly. And I
don't know. That's one of those, you can't make that decision. If I'm ever faced with that decision, I'll let you know what I decide.
30 years later, we'll see you in 30 years.
Yeah, right.
If I'm ever in the quantum realm.
It is a heavy decision to make. And I think a lot of people glossed over that fact as well is, hey, she could have come home. But like this version of Kang he's very soft spoken. He speaks very well. And he was chill until she's looked into his brain and he's like, look, I have to do this. You can go home right now and I won't touch your universe. And she had to live with that decision, which again, none of us could really say, put us in that situation. Maybe we make a decision, but it is interesting. And then also by the time this movie ends, you don't even remember that Bill Murray was hardly in it. I didn't personally.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, his whole
and then he just
thing was in the trailer.
It was, yeah. I mean, the one thing that we saw from him in the trailer, that was the only scene he was in.
Right. He was just there to taunt Michael Douglas.
Yeah.
And I
think for them to steal his ship.
Right.
Yes. Well, that was also great. Like Michael Douglas. The thing I love is, again, people going back to character development is the fact that they're like, nothing really happens. But Michael Douglas, when we first meet him, he's this grouchy old man that this is my Antman tech.
He's getting late again.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's true. Michelle Pfeiffer.
I mean, if he slept with one woman in 30 years and it didn't work out.
Linda.
A lot of pent up aggression there.
Now we get like kooky old grandpa who buys your grandkids and like sneaks them $50 bills in their pockets when they leave.
Busts them out of jail.
Busts them, like, not even the first time. And so I like this version because he grew and now he's just like, all right, back in these weird slimy arms. He has the ants, which I thought the way they incorporated ants into an Ant-Man movie was actually pretty interesting.
It's pretty funny.
Especially with the quantum realm involved.
Yeah. Like they lived 1,000 years in like a single day.
And they've developed. They're like, "Are these your ants?" Yes, they're my ants. Like,
yeah,
that was funny.
But again, I feel like Michael Douglas having to do a movie about ants might have been the greatest end of career move of anybody in history,
without a doubt. When you look back in like the 90s and some of his more serious early films, you're just like, you couldn't picture that Michael Douglas playing in an Ant-Man movie.
No, not even
we couldn't picture an Ant-Man movie. I remember arguing with friends years ago. They can't do an Ant-Man movie and make it look good.
And now he's my favorite MCU character. Like I would, like, hands down, my next tattoo is Antman because I just get crazy tattoos as you see Dunkin' Donuts. But
So am I allowed to say that Wolverine is now my favorite MCU character if he's
technically gonna
coming
be in it.
Okay. I'm
Technically
just wondering. I
speaking.
mean,
I
because
was
we
gonna say
also have
maybe
Xavier.
Yeah. Well, once Deadpool 3 comes out, which, side note, my most anticipated MCU movie, I think even above the next two
Fuck
Avengers.
yes.
Well, we're getting
November
Ian
2024.
McKellen apparently is
Yep.
going to be
Oh
coming
man,
back
my
too.
birthday
Like,
month,
what?
that's going to be amazing. And yeah, once Wolverine comes in, hell yeah.
I watched that like video, like I don't even know how many times I watched it that day. And I think every time I teared up.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, I'm so
Oh my
excited.
God. I can't believe
Yeah,
like
I
and
cheered.
My
the
oldest
videos
is
of
going to
him
be
working out
21
again,
when
like,
it comes
wow.
out. I'm going to buy her a beer and we're going to go watch it together. She grew up watching these movies. The first MCU movie she saw in the theater was Iron Man 2.
Wow.
I mean,
Amazing.
it
I love
is
that movie.
amazing.
I'm an Iron Man 2 apologist, but yeah, so I gotta ask.
Apologist.
A lot of people don't like Iron Man 2. I like that film. It was a
I
good
like
film.
it, but it's still my least favorite MCU movie.
Yeah,
Because there are
it's
no bad MCU
bottom.
movies.
Exactly. It's bottom 5 for me, but that's not saying anything bad because I love it.
Is it
Yeah,
above hold on.
exactly.
Is it above Iron Man 3?
It's tough. I gotta go back and
I'm
forth
outta
between
here.
those two.
I gotta go home.
Just-
Never mind. Back to Ant-Man though, on a serious note, what did you guys think about Cassie Lang? Because I see a lot of people again just ripping up her, the actress. There's the whole thing with, oh, Peyton Reed replaced her. Oh, Catherine McNamara, she didn't really know. And you guys, first and foremost, the Cassie Lang we met in Endgame was on screen and talked for maybe 10 seconds. I'm
she's
fine with the
fucking-
recast. I am good with the recast.
Yeah.
And I thought with what she did, I thought Catherine Newton was fine. She was great.
Yeah. I didn't mind the recast. I think the only thing is I would have liked to have seen what Emma Furman could have done.
Emma Furman, that's what it was. My bad.
With Cassie given the chance. But that being said, I did not mind what Catherine Newton did. I thought she was really good. She's obviously, a rising superstar. She's still really young, 24, 25 years old. And I think she did a good job with the role. She got like, that sarcasm and kind of spunkiness that she has in all of her roles. And I liked it. I didn't mind her, Cassie.
At all.
No.
And you can clearly tell she's set up to lead the young or be a part of the Young Avengers going forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. I loved the recasting. I mean, anybody who's listened to our episodes for 5 seconds knows that I love Supernatural and I loved her character in that. And Matt's not going to meet that.
That's why I said Catherine McNamara, because she plays in Supernatural. That's what happened.
Okay.
I spent the last year going through Supernatural for the first time, and I just started a rewatch. I'm on season 1 right now, and it's still great.
Okay, so you're coming back.
Just started season 4.
I'm on season 4 halfway through for the first time ever. I've never watched. So look, we got to.
So I don't even want to say who she plays because he's going to meet the other one.
Looks like you're
soon.
coming. You're gonna have to come back for a Supernatural episode.
Yes, that'll be amazing.
Putting bonus episodes out each week where I talk about like we're Supernatural. So that's funny.
Took me 2 years to convince him.
Yes,
nice.
But yeah, she was fine. Again, she's set up. This is set up, a big setup. She's going to be a part of the Young Avengers going forward.
Absolutely.
I'm cool with it. And I thought the Resistance fighters were decent. The one girl, I will die on this hill that the leader of the Resistance, she was Scorpina.
Oh, I loved her.
Gentora. Yeah.
Yeah. She's Scorpina from the Power Rangers. She got put into the quantum realm. Her staff, Half Moon and all, her outfit, she was ripped from the Power Rangers. Because
good God, we haven't even touched this movie. I'm like thinking about all the stuff we haven't even talked about. What about the dude from The Good Place that could read minds? He was awesome.
Yes.
And Kurt playing a new role as Veb.
Again, I was gonna say it sucks that David Desmalchian and
there you go,
Michael Pena.
Yes, Michael Pena were not in this movie, but David Desmalchian was. Like he was in this
and
movie.
He was hilarious.
He was like, I got holes.
I knew that was coming too. As soon as they shot him, I'm like, oh God, he's gonna say he has holes.
Yep. We saw it coming.
Drink the juice.
But so Kang's warriors, for a second, I thought that they were maybe futuristic technology. And my daughter goes, no, because the guy could read their minds, so they have minds. And I was like, oh shit, you're right.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a good point.
That's a good point.
That's
yeah.
True.
Yeah, Quaz.
That is true. And man, I liked Kang's army. I thought it was great. And he was still intimidating. I get the events that unfold, but So we kind of move along in the movie, right? And get to the point where things are culminating now. Everybody's getting captured. Scott's pissed. I loved the scene. This kind of brings us to where Scott's like, all right, fine. After Cassie's getting tortured and threatened with death, Kang's like, you're gonna do this because Janet, the way she trapped Kang was to throw the Pym particles and explode the his multiverse engine of sorts. And
Mhm.
so that's what Scott has to dive down in and shrink it again. And I thought it was great because you have the possibility universe or the probability universe where we get to see all these different Scotts and we get Baskin Robbins Scott Lang.
Okay,
That
have
was
you
great.
seen the Paul Rudd Netflix show where they clone him?
I have not.
No?
What
Oh,
show is
you would
this?
actually. So it's a whole thing. Like Tom Brady, I think, makes a cameo in it.
Oh my God.
You think Tom Brady's going to get me to watch it? Come on.
Okay. So, but the first time he split from the person, I was literally like, I'm like, am I watching the Netflix show? I was trying to look at, I think it's like Living with Myself or something.
Okay.
Okay, keep going and I'll find it and then I'll tell you more.
No, I just thought it was great that we get to see the Baskin Robbins Scott. I will say that going back to your first point, Hope doesn't really do a whole lot in this movie. She doesn't.
She
But
doesn't need to, though.
she doesn't need to. She's there for Scott. Like their relationship is there, and she kind of dives in and navigates through the probability realm as well. And that was a cool scene.
Yeah, no, that was a cool scene, especially visually.
It
Mhm.
looked like literally ants. The way they move and operate is how Scott gets up to the orb because that's how ants act.
I just saw some of the imagery from like the first movie when he's going through the pipes and everything. That just popped into my head
Yes.
when that happened. Oh my God, that's
Yes.
cool.
Yes. And it's like, guys, again, this is an Ant-Man film. They're going to have ant-like things, and this was rad. They all focus again on the singular
I'm mad about
aspect.
ants in the Ant-Man film.
People
Yep,
will complain about anything, right?
they really
But-
will.
Yeah, the show's called Living with Yourself. It came out in 2019. It's a comedy drama, and there's literally a clone of Paul Rudd, so it's very similar to the
I'm gonna have
first.
to watch it.
Because they're like,
kinda
I'm me.
bookended.
No, you're a copy of me. It's literally that.
Nice.
That yeah, it was just
It was foreshadowing.
with the character again. We have his sole focus is Cassie, and that's all of these probabilities of Scott's
Which makes sense. He's a
focus
single dad.
on
Of course
Cassie
it's his
Lang,
focus.
and that's how they. That's beautiful right there.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I thought it was great. But you don't need again. We know who Scott is through and through, and he's again doing everything for
Dad.
Cassie Lang. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a father. That's all he's cared
As
about.
he should.
When he said,
Yeah.
when he said, "I love you, Peanut," again. Oh my God.
Oh man, I have a daughter, and dang, that it does hit hard, especially
Mhm.
especially
Yeah.
hits hard. And yeah, I liked going into
Ooh,
the
what about when Kang? Oh,
hit me.
you say when
No, what do you
Kang
have?
called no, remember when Kang called Hope Jelly Bean?
Yes.
Oh, terrifying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Oh,
and like,
man.
and I think that's the thing that makes Jonathan Majors as Kang so incredible. Is like, just like with Josh Brolin's Thanos, he's so understated for most of the movie. There's only like maybe what 2 scenes where he's really yelling at somebody,
Oh,
and
yeah.
and like and I love that about him. Jonathan Majors has such range, and he really needs it for this role. And he's already bringing it. I mean, after seeing He Who Remains first, and then now this version of Kang, I am so beyond pumped to see what he does with the rest of these roles.
Oh yeah. I
Yes.
mean, you go from He Who Remains is kind of a goofier character to now we have the Kang, the Conqueror, who is this straight. He plays it very soft spoken at times, and he
Mhm.
again he only really raises his voice like twice, which the only other time is when he actually comes down from the wreckage in the final act, and he lays to waste in like 10 seconds. He kills hundreds of people. He does.
Oh yeah, the beams coming out of his hands. It was like he was enjoying that.
He was, and he was badass. This is all right. So if you're a WWE fan, this is how you book 2 characters to come out strong. You have Kang, who jumps down and he just absolutely lays to waste, and then you still have Scott, the underdog, who looks strong, and this is his movie at the end of the day. Of course, he's going to be the hero in his movie. They weren't going to kill Ant-Man in his film. No.
No.
Without a doubt.
I thought they might kill Hank, but nope.
I
I was thinking maybe Hank or Janet.
I thought for sure Hank was dead. My predictions was Hank is toast. It didn't happen.
Well, I have heard
Yeah.
rumors that they're maybe thinking about doing that in Kang
Janet.
Dynasty, so we'll see.
I have heard those rumors. So rumors that are going around right now is that Janet is going to be the one to bite the dust, which makes sense.
I can see it.
Yeah, in my mind, if this version of Kang gets out, or even if it's these versions of Kang that know what went down here in the quantum realm, I see it as they know what Scott did. So rather than kill Scott and put him out of his misery, they're going to make him suffer. And so you make him suffer, you kill his family.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Kang did say that he's going to kill Cassie and make him watch it over and over and over again.
That's the most brutal line in the movie too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Easy.
And he said it very calmly too.
Like, this is what's going to happen and you're going to take it.
Yeah.
And you believe it more when they say it like that, because it was like, it wasn't out of anger, like he was going to follow through.
He was very soft spoken about it. He's like, I'm going to kill her.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make you watch it over and over and over. And he's just very mild mannered about it, which adds that bit to it where you're like, oh, damn.
Yeah, like he means business.
Yeah. And in the final battle, so I know that at first they had me fooled. I completely thought when the final battle goes down, we see Scott and Kang kind of tussle for a second. And that's when Hank shows up at the ants and they drag Kang away. I was like, oh, wow. That's one way to get out of those two actually standing toe to toe and fighting. I thought that was it. I was like, okay. I thought for sure they would get stuck in the
climatic enough, though.
Well,
yeah.
You knew there was going to be more.
I thought that's why I was like, oh, they're kind of subverting my expectations. I hate that terminology.
No, it's like Disney fireworks. You know when they're done.
Yeah, for sure.
I got fooled. And so I was cool. All right. I guess that's how that ends. Cool. They're going to get out. I thought for sure Scott would get stuck in the quantum realm again somehow. But no. Everybody gets out, and that's when Kang comes back. And look, say what you want about my boy Scott. He got his shots in, and he held his own against Kang. They were fists. Like, that was a brutal fight sequence. It kind of reminded me of the Thanos and Hulk fight sequence from Infinity War.
Yeah, or even Thanos and Tony.
Yeah, that one too, where he's just like all that for a drop of blood, because Scott was getting some good hits in.
But there was a line where if you can make a god bleed or something. Wasn't there a previous line? All you have to do is make a god bleed a drop of blood or something. There was something to that.
Oh,
all that for a drop of blood.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, there was a previous line that had more impact than we thought.
What did you guys think of the final? I was going to say, what did you guys think about the final act, the final battle, how it all went down? What were your thoughts?
You know, there were some things I think they could have done better. I totally agree. I think they subverted us with the ants tackling Kang and everything. But that Kang Scott fight, brutal.
Visceral.
I was all for that. And I mean, I'm sure everybody's going to be going crazy over that one shot where he's got the sleeve ripped off and he's got the, Creed 3 muscles showing up. I mean,
look, he didn't spend all that money getting those beefy arms for Creed 3 to not show him off in Antman as well.
No,
I mean, that dude put in the work.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Abs.
He is.
God, he's got that Marvel body.
Yep, he's got the Marvel workout thing going. But no, I mean, that fight was awesome, and it makes me more excited to see what he's going to do when he fights the rest of the Avengers, when he goes up against somebody like Thor or the Hulk or She-Hulk or any of those guys.
That reminds me, the line, "Have I killed you? Are you the one with the hammer?" That was a good line right there.
That was pretty great.
And I loved his response. Our body types are the same.
Yes,
we get confused a lot, similar body types and whatnot.
Yeah. It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that when Scott does encounter another Kang, I feel like he's going to have similar expectations, and those are quickly going to be subverted. So I think that's interesting too, because no two Kangs I think are going to be exactly alike
at all.
But there were people that had an issue, because in my head I thought, like, when they closed the door, I didn't think Scott was gone forever. They rescued Janet. Why wouldn't they be able to rescue Scott right away? And I saw people online were upset that they were able to so quickly open that door and let Scott back in. They had no issue opening the door. They just knew that it was dangerous to do so, especially because Janet had told them not to do so. So they weren't. That didn't mean they couldn't. So that, to me, made sense. Also, anytime anybody was mad at Janet, and they said Janet, I just started the whole movie in my head. I'm like, damn it, Janet, I love you. So that did pose a bit of a problem to me in my own head.
Well, that's gonna be stuck in my head for a while now.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's a good movie.
Yeah.
You're kind of right on that aspect. I was kind of mad that they weren't stuck in the quantum realm, but when I thought about it, we've already seen Scott get stuck in there for 5 years. We've already
Right.
Well,
seen
for,
them
or 5 hours, yeah.
Well, to him 5 hours, but it was 5 years in the real world. So we've seen Scott stuck before. We don't need to see him stuck.
He
again.
didn't even seem concerned that he was stuck.
Yeah, actually.
Maybe because he knew Cassie was safe.
Yeah.
But also
Probably.
when Hope came back, like they both were very like, oh, there's a door, let's go. But I wasn't surprised that they were like that. And I think some people were upset that that was just too easy.
Yeah, no, and I get that. But actually, talking to you guys now, that actually kind of helps me see it a little bit better now.
Ooh, look at that. No, but again, like they've made it to the quantum realm twice now because they were going back in Antman in the Wasp to get
And an
particles
Endgame.
for Ghost, and
Right.
3 times now. So yeah, then they went through in Endgame because what a lot of people don't realize again. I saw somebody that was like, they were stuck down there for 24 hours. That should be 30 years in the MCU or whatever. It's like, no, in the quantum realm, it exists out of time and space. You can enter at a certain point. You can exit in the future, the past, the present. That's how
know
Kang,
how to do it.
Yeah, that's how Kang was like, I could have you right at your doorstep. Hope would never know you left. Or you could go back in time to steal the Infinity Stones, like we saw, or you can come out in the future. It's time isn't this whole, it's 5 hours here, it's 5 years there.
It's not, it's wibbly wobbly, timey wimey.
It's all timey wimey. So
it's all timey wimey.
That's what a lot of people don't realize with the quantum realm. And so I didn't have a problem. And I knew that they would find a way just because they've been there 3 times now.
Yeah.
I think you just need a Tony to do the math. I would assume it's all just
math, or even a Bruce,
right? Yeah. Or Spider-Man, like how quickly Spidey figured out the Doctor Strange world,
the mirror dimension.
Mirror dimension. Yeah, he's like, this is just geometry.
That is one thing in the MCU is everybody seems wicked smart. Like Shuri, Cassie, Peter, like everybody has Riri,
right?
Everybody has like obscene smart levels, so it's like, okay, not everybody is this smart, or right?
But that makes sense, and you see that like in the Flash with Cisco. Like a lot of the times, how they defeat the bad guy is they're figuring out the geometry behind it or the quantum physics or whatever. So that would make sense because if you're not that intelligent and you have these powers, you're just gonna die.
Yeah,
yeah.
So, and some of them, okay, doesn't make any lick of sense whatsoever. But let's say that Bruce wasn't so smart. So maybe the gamma radiation would have killed him, but his brain was so intelligent that it mutated it in a form to overcompensate and keep him alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that could be it.
Have to be smart.
All these good points. Yep. Were you guys expecting Kang to somehow appear, not Kang, but a version of Kang when Scott was doubting himself at the end? He was like, did I just kill everybody? I half expected at the restaurant.
I was thinking that actually. Yeah.
I thought for sure we were going to get a version of Kang, but that brings us to the post-credit scenes.
Oh my God.
We got
timely.
The Council of Kangs.
I lost my mind. I'm whispering to my daughter the whole time about who the King were.
I know. I was telling my wife, I was like, oh God, it's the Council of Kangs. She's like, okay, cool. And I'm like, we got that scene was ripped straight from the comics, Council of Kangs in the stadium. And them teleporting was the same way Reed Richards did, which if anybody who knows who Reed Richards, Nathaniel Richards is the descendant, blah, blah, blah. We know this. That post-credit scene had me hyped. Where do you think
Loki
we go now? Before we get to Loki, where do you think we go with all of these Kangs? What do you think happens?
I mean, this is clearly setting up Kang Dynasty. Here's the thing. I mean, we've got the 3, like, it seems like main Kangs. We've got Immortus, Ramatut, and I think it was Scarlet Centurion was the third one.
It was, yeah.
And it seems like those 3 are going to be like the big Top Gun kahuna Kangs. that are going to be leading all these other ones. And I'm really curious to see like how far exactly they go with all this, because there are so many different Kang
There was
variants.
way more than I expected there to be. I was shocked at how many they decided to put in there.
Like almost a whole
Rama-Tut-
stadium worth.
Yeah, getting Rama-Tut
And
before we even have Reed Richards was kind of like, oh wow, that's a bold strategy.
I just want Rama-Tut to be connected to Moon Knight. I really do.
I hope so.
I was also surprised. All these Kangs looked exactly the same. They all look like Jonathan Majors,
with the exception of the one who had that alien kind of looking. Okay, so
but he was still Jonathan Majors.
He was, but he had the blue over and stuff like that, so they weren't all.
He just had his helmet on.
Yes,
yeah,
it was. You're right, though. I think those three are the main ones, which they obviously were the head honchos because they were the ones that everybody was waiting to speak on. So, do you think Kang the Conqueror from this film is dead?
No.
The more I think about it, no, I don't think so.
I don't at all. I think he's in that probability realm. I think he's going. So my next question is, do you think he's going to come out as the Beyonder? That's the other big popular theory.
There is a strong possibility that could happen.
I think he's going to become Mephisto.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
Here we go again. Jesus God.
I promised myself after WandaVision I wouldn't even think about any Mephisto theories until he actually shows up on screen.
Don't lie to us, because we all know Sacha Baron Cohen's supposed to be Mephisto.
Oh my God, that'd be so amazing.
Right.
Especially because his jokes about the Jews with the horns and him being Jewish.
Oh God, right. Jesus. Yeah, that one hits my soul, being Jewish.
Yeah, no, my husband is Jewish and he dies at those movies. He's losing his mind.
Me too.
But when Loki came out and they pointed at the thing, the little girl in the past, and she said she saw the devil, I was like, oh, this one's Mephisto. I bought right into it.
That's the only other time I've even let myself think it. But but then I thought, nope, not going to do it.
I think they're going to do it in the most least expected way ever. I think they're just going to be like, it's going to be like surprise, motherfucker, and we're going to have no idea.
Yeah,
for sure. But
I'm very excited about the one that we are going to see in Loki 2, the timely one, because I feel like in the comics, he's a politician, he's manipulative, he's subtle. And, my daughter was like, oh, are they doing a steampunk, Kang? And so I loved I loved seeing the fear on Loki's face. And obviously there's stuff that's going to happen before we get there.
Straight into Loki season 2.
Yes. I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably going to be like the big episode 1, probably tag or something, like right at the end of the first episode. Like, I wouldn't be shocked to see this scene maybe like directly translated into Loki. And I'm so excited for that. I mean, especially because Loki doesn't get scared by much. And what we saw at the end of last season for him is what he's going to be feeling this season. And it's going to be awesome.
And just the fact that we still have Owen Wilson in the MCU of all places, like
Owen Wilson's finally in a MCU movie.
God, it's amazing, and I'm with you. This has me so hyped for Loki. The rumor mill is that there's only 2 shows coming out, Loki and Secret Invasion, which I hope Loki comes out and allegedly is May. Allegedly May is what they're talking. I hope
they just push back the Marvels.
Well, the Marvels got pushed back to November, so May is open. I mean, we don't have another MCU film after Guardians.
Yeah. Between Guardians and the Marvels, nothing.
Exactly. So it's coming this summer. We got
spoiled the last 2 years.
And you have 2 shows.
Yeah.
You fuckers saying it's been too much and you're oversaturated. Yeah. You ruined it for all of us.
I'm excited. I think this is episode 1 of Loki where they see Victor Timely. But do you know who I think we're going to get? We don't know who bought Avengers Tower. I guarantee you we're getting Kang Industry. That version of Kang is coming to, and he probably will have bought Avengers Tower and made it Kang. And I think he's going to be.
Oh my God.
I think
like picturing coming. Back to the Future, and it's like Biff Towers.
Oh like God. You know what? I've been torn between. I originally thought it was going to be Oscorp, which didn't happen.
I was thinking Roxxon.
And I was also thinking it's going to be the new Baxter building. But
I think
I might be leaning toward the Kang thing now.
Yeah, I think it's Kang because he's here. He's here. He's there. He's everywhere. He's
where.
Yes,
maybe it's Fantastic Four.
I think that honestly, we're gonna get this version of Kang, and he's gonna have bought Avengers Tower and name it Kang because we kind of got that.
Maybe it'll be Deadpool because he went back in time and invested in Apple. So he has a lot of money now. And then, yeah, he names it like Wolvie Deadpool or something.
Hugh Jackman Tower.
Yeah, that's even better. Honestly, every end credit scene, I'm just hoping to see Wolverine. I'm not going to lie, since the beginning of like the first Iron Man, that's all I wanted.
Yeah.
Soon enough.
I know. I can't.
Eventually.
My gosh.
Can't wait.
But I want to know. All right. So as we wrap this whole thing up, what do you give out of 10? What do you give Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania?
7.2.
I was I've been torn between like a 7 and an 8, probably about a 7.5. It wasn't great, but it was not as horrible as the critics are saying, and it's by far not the worst MCU movie.
I'm on TikTok defending it with my life. That's the hill I'm dying on. But
Nice.
I'm with you. I initially had it as an 8 out of a 10. I think my initial emotions were I had so much fun with this movie. I just had a blast. It was a comic book ripped, put on a screen, and again, I have bias because Ant-Man is my favorite MCU character. I might be the only person saying this, but
I'm still defending Wolverine Origins, so you do you.
So thinking about it, removing that like Ant-Man's my favorite, I give it a 7.5 because this movie set up a lot, and then again, this movie was still great. I thought again, it's just fun. It is fun. That is probably the most fun I have had in a movie for a long time, probably since Top Gun Maverick, because the movies I've seen in theaters,
which is 9 months ago.
Well, thinking about the movies that I've seen in theaters, I've seen, a ton, but the ones that come to mind is Wakanda Forever, Black Phone. Black Phone wasn't a fun movie.
No, neither was Wakanda. Well,
Black
Wakanda
Adam
Forever
was.
I thought Black Adam had some fun moments.
Okay.
Yeah.
Black Adam had its moments. That kid just killed my will to live.
See, I didn't have an issue with the kid. I liked that movie more than I expected to. But then it was ruined as soon as I came out of the theater and found out all that was scrapped anyways.
Thinking of the movies that I've seen, Top Gun was.
But we're keeping Amanda Waller, but not Henry Cavill.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I'll stop.
Different time.
Sorry.
It was fun, and so I liked it. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. That's our review of this film. If you want to watch it and you've lived under a rock, my God, go to a theater. What are you doing? Go to your theater. I'm probably going to go again Friday. I think I'm going to take my son and his friend. I think we're going to go and see it again on Friday. And I'm interested to see how it holds up on a second viewing.
Yeah.
It'll probably be better. They always are. I'm still defending
Not
Eternals
always.
too. I don't think Eternals was bad. I enjoyed Eternals.
Eternals was a good film.
Yeah.
Don't understand the foundation that they were laying, and that Eternals is not over.
Onto the Marvel slate, they have officially added Eternals too.
To the production schedule.
Yes, to the production schedule, yes. Is Chloe Zhao returning? We don't know yet. I would assume so, but what they say about assumptions. See. I hope she does. And
this time Jon Snow wants it.
Yeah, that's Eternals is fine. So, Richard, where can people find you if they missed anything? Where what do you want people to know before we wrap up this episode?
So you can find me writing at the Direct every day. That's where I live. That's my home. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Richard Nebens. Mostly active on Twitter. It's RICHARDNEBENS. That's where you can find me on the socials. Like I said, I'm writing all the time. I'm also a fairly regular guest on the Direct podcast. Check us out there. It's a great show. Matt Remke, David Thompson do an incredible job there on that show. And I'm reviewing everything from Marvel to DC to Star Wars, pretty much anything I can get my hands on. We're expanding into a lot of I want to say like normal general public movies too. Like I've written a lot on Indiana Jones 5 and a bunch of other stuff recently. And just check us out there, and we're a great source for news, and hope you find me there.
Right on. You're speaking my language. If, again, you missed where you can find us, Hops Geek News, all your favorite podcasting platforms, all of your social media accounts. Lauren runs the Instagram. I'm on Twitter. We both kind of take turns on our TikTok, and we're doing a lot of great things. I'm watching Supernatural for the first time. Come follow us there. Whereas, like I said, Freaky Fridays, it's Supernatural Fridays. That's where we talk about Supernatural and where my journey is at.
I have to
And
bite my tongue every 5 minutes.
that's true. I didn't listen to a single
Spoilers.
word she said for the first 2 years, and so it's all new to me.
It's true.
It's been fun. I'm enjoying it. And you can find Lauren, you're writing for Disney. Where can we find your writings for Disney? You're doing something tomorrow, in fact.
Oh, I am. I'm just an independent contractor, though. So I'm getting to do my first review tomorrow of a country music show in Orlando. I got to write an article about MegaCon recently. So I don't work for them. I'm just a freelance writer. But the articles I am doing are on Attractions Magazine. And of course, you can also find us on hopsnews.beer.
Right on. And I, as always, I write Bam Smack Pow and Dork Side of the Force. I talk about Star Wars and I talk about pop culture. That's my thing. So if you want to find us there, you can also find us there. Thanks for hanging out. Rich, thanks again, man. I can't wait to have you back. Like this, just so you know, like friend of the show, you got to come back, especially for Supernatural. And
Thank you so much.
yeah, man. Thanks for hanging out. We'll check you guys all next week. Cheers.